What is up? Daniel here with the Virtual Robotics Studio, and we are almost done with the electrical and getting our robot set up. But we do have to go back and fix our robot signal light, and we've got a couple of other minor finishing touches that we're going to do. Before we get started, though, we're going to give our special thanks to First and Argosy Foundation for making this all possible. All right, our big thing that we're going to try to do is to reposition this robot signal light. We just kind of strapped it on so we didn't have to do any drilling while we were kind of in our wiring mode. But now we got to find a home for this. And the rule is you just got to be able to see it. This is not critical. This could get completely ripped out of the robot and your robot would keep working. So that changes, you know, like the RoboRio or the computer, that if that gets damaged, you're done. So that we try to bury deep inside, but this can go wherever we want. I think a good spot might be somewhere around here, because that's sort of inside the frame of the robot. It doesn't get in the way of anything else that we might want to attach, and we can put it on the side or in the middle. And if you already have plans to design other systems and add other stuff to this robot, just make sure you pick a place where this is not going to be in the way, because again, it pretty much doesn't matter where this ends up. So I'm going to go ahead and unplug the light here from my wires. And if I unscrew, there's a little nut on here. We can unscrew that. And then basically we just want to make a hole that's this size. So I'm going to measure it and see. So it's about 0.86. So if you have a drill bit that can go that big, that is the best way to do this. If not, you can end up taking the plastic and sort of just kind of cut a U shape out of the plastic that it would then fit inside, and then you tighten that nut down to lock it in place. But I do have one of these unibits or step drill bits, and so they have a bunch of different sizes all the way up to, I think, the size that I need. So I'm going to just drill a hole with this into, this is leftover plastic. I think this was not the launcher rail, but this is leftover from something that we cut earlier, and this is about the right size and shape. Plastic is good for this because it's pretty light and it's a little bit easier to work with. So kind of shift everything over a little bit here, and we're going to go ahead and just drill that hole. And nothing that we're doing has any, serious dimensional requirements. I would say, how wide is this piece? This piece feels like a good width. So this is like 3.3 inches wide. So I'll stick with that, and I'll maybe make it about an inch and, that was 0.86. So I'll just make it 2 inches wide. So basically, the area I'm working with is going to be right around here, which we can just sort of mark in with the Sharpie. I'll put a hole somewhere. Let's put the hole about half an inch in from the end. We can do a little bit more than half an inch. I'm going to do 3/4 of an inch in from the end. And that should give us plenty of room. So somewhere around here. And the middle is fine. You can measure it all out and be very precise, but again, I mean, we just need to get this thing attached. So I'm going to drill my giant hole right around there, and then we'll cut this off, and then we'll go ahead and mount it in the robot. So I'm going to clamp this up on our table here and put this big step drill bit into the drill. And anywhere around here should be fine. Okay, and if you do have the step drill bit, one of the things you're gonna wanna do is either you can read still, a lot of times they'll have it written on the side, what the sizes are. But sometimes I think it's easier to just, measure the rings. And I think this ring is my 0.875 one. So I'm gonna go until this wide ring. Another trick you can do is you can actually color in either the one you want, or you can color in the one you want to go up to. And so I'll be able to see that when I'm drilling where that mark is. So I'll know when to stop. All right, let's go for it. Let's see, were we there? I think so. So before I unclamp it, let's see if this fits. It does. That looks good. And I have plenty of room over here to attach it. So I think we're ready now to unclamp this. And again, we could take this over to the bandsaw. That would be fine. I'll show you another way that you can cut this stuff. We talked about these snips before. But since I'm not cutting that far, I think I should be able to kind of cut in from one side. And then I can flip it around and cut back in from the other side here. And it's more or less just like scissors, but you got to squeeze a little harder. The cool part about the snips too, though, is I can kind of clip the corners so they're also not sharp really easily. Okay, let's peel this other plastic off here. If I can. There we go. And we're going to deburr that hole in the middle, although step drill bits tend to leave pretty clean holes, at least on one side. And I'll just make sure the edges are clean with the file. Okay, then I'm actually going to put the light in just so I have some reference for where it's going to end up. And now on the robot we can pick, right? So, you know, I could attach it right here. I could attach it kind of over in this corner a little bit more. You could attach it this way if you preferred. You could attach it from the bottom. You could attach it on this post on the side, facing in, whatever. I would say, though, try to keep the wires pointing in. And I'm going to put it kind of in the inside here because then if you want to cover your whole like, front of the robot or the sides, this is not like then sticking out in the way of where that cover might go. So I think I'm going to make sure that I'm off the edge here. I'm going to leave myself a little bit of room from the braces that are over here. And then we'll go ahead and add a clamp. I have these ones out, so we'll try to make these ones work. Okay, and now we're going to be drilling through plastic, but then through metal over the robot. And all our electronics are inside the robot. So before we do this, we need to cover up all of our electronics. And some teams have specific cloths or material or whatever to use for this. On my team, we were never prepared, so we just made whoever was nearest by take their hoodie off and cover the robot with it. So I'm going to get this in here. I'm going to make sure that it's all the way to the edges and covering up all of the electronics that could get stuff on them. So anytime you're drilling now on the robot, now that the electronics are in, we have to just be very, very cautious to not get any shavings in bad places. All right, and I'll go ahead and I guess we'll just put a snap punch somewhere here in the middle. And I'm just going to rivet this in. So that means I'm going back to my 3/16 or maybe number 11 drill bit. And we're just going to drill and rivet it. Okay, I will deburr the hole a little bit. And we've only got a couple rivets to do, so let's do it with the hand riveter today. Take this clamp off. Probably could have gotten by with just 2 rivets if I had clamped a little better, but it's all right. We'll do 3. So one more on this side. Clean it up. Another good reason to have a hand riveter around too is that it is a little bit smaller profile. So there are some places you can get the hand riveter to fit, but you can't get the big pneumatic or electric riveters to fit. And we could probably stop there with those 2 rivets. They're off center, so they're maybe not as pretty as they could be, but like this is not going anywhere, and that's what we want. So now we have to be careful. I'm going to just very gently, fold this up. If I knock the shavings out now, then it completely defeated the purpose. So we'll pull this out and just kind of shake it out so it is ready to go for next time. Or whoever you stole it from can put it back on and they can stop being cold. All right. The last thing we have to do then is reroute our wire to plug that in. So now it looks like I'm going to bring it under and run up this pole. But first step is just kind of plug it in again. And then, get some zip ties and find a good place for it to run. And it follows the same rules as the motor ones. So I'm going to maybe do one zip tie to hold it up on this front bar, just so that there's some strain relief from where it's plugged in. And then we'll run down this whole bar here. So we'll throw a couple zip ties on to guide it back down towards our frame. Maybe one more towards the bottom of the frame here. And then there is a lot of it loose on the inside as well. So what I might do is, I'm going to do one zip tie maybe to the other wires that are down here already. We already drilled a hole for some of these other wires. That seems like kind of a good place to go. And then I'll just sort of bundle the rest up and just zip tie it out of the way wherever there's some space. Okay, and we have one other issue here that I think we mentioned a while ago when we started wiring. And that is that those open spots on our RoboRio here, all of these open pins. And I said we should cover those up so they don't get any aluminum shavings in them. Probably we should have done this before we just did the drilling, but we were pretty careful with the drilling. So you can check yours. Just kind of look in here, look at all these pins, all the exposed pins that are sticking up. If you see any aluminum in there, pick it out, vacuum it out, and then we'll go back in with some electrical tape. And the idea is we're just going to cover up all of the things we're not using. Just make sure it's sitting nice and flat and it's stuck on well. And this is just going to help, again, if you're working on your robot, it's going to help keep shavings from getting inside. And shavings inside can sometimes make it do weird things or stop working. So we definitely do not want that to happen. So just go all the way around, covering up the things. Now the USB ports, you could cover those up too. I've had less issues with those, but you could add tape over those. And same thing with the extra PWM ports here are a little bit harder to cover up just because we have our other stuff kind of already in the area. And I don't want to cover up my buttons here. So I'll kind of just make it a little bit harder for things to fall in there. Make sure you don't cover up any of the lights on this side. So maybe this side I don't even, yeah, that side I think I'm not even going to bother because I don't want to cover up the light so we can still see what's going on. All right, that is it. You can go through and snip any zip ties that might be sticking out. And we are completely done actually building and wiring the robot. So next step, we got to get some bumpers on this and then we can start programming. So we'll see you in the next video, but before we go, another special thanks to First and Argosy Foundation for making this all possible.